Welcome, everyone. I'm, as always, grateful, honored, and excited to have you in a new webinar. As you got, I hope you got used to, and I hope if it's your first one, I hope it's going to be an inspiring one, and I hope it's not going to be the last one. And as you know, this seems to be a very important topic for the students and for young people in general and people that live in Aruba about parenting, and mostly if you're experiencing parenting and controlling related to parenting. And an important note here, this workshop, it's not promising to solve your current situation. It's not coming to give you one solution that will work starting tomorrow, but this is a workshop that's here to empower you. We're gonna see together, we're going to see together some signs. We're gonna feel more in control, so you can feel more in control of your life and go home with some tips that you can start applying from now on. All right, so that being said, what we discussed today, what are the normal needs of young adults? I'm curious if you feel that right now your normal adult needs are being met or not. Also, we're going to look together for signs and see and identify if you are experiencing parental control and how does that look. Also, what's the dynamic of parental control? What fears can a person that has controlling parents can have that keeps them stuck maybe? Also, if you grew up, maybe now you still have the same situation or not, what consequences are right now present in your life because you had controlling parents? So at least you can identify if any of those are happening to you and what you can do with them, how to cope with parental pressure, for example, when it comes to school. It can be applied to anything, but if you are not doing so great in school right now, what should you do to make your life easier? And last one, practical. It's good if you have a pen and paper. It's how to try to empower yourself day by day, starting after this workshop. Why I do this? I just want to present myself shortly. I am a clinical psychologist, I am a cognitive behavioral therapist, and I'm a health coach. I'm working with young people for 11 years now, and my mission is to empower people. What I've seen in the short time I'm in Aruba, I come from Europe, it's Romania, it's a country in Europe. I've seen a big difference. In my country, we leave home quite early and we become very independent very early. But here, meeting so many students and counseling students, I see it's different. So this became so interesting to study the phenomena and find out how is this dynamic between children and parents and what can be done for it so children can become more independent and feel better. And going back to our first topic of today, what are normal needs of young adults? I wrote with capital letters, connection. This is the first need of any human being, and mostly of someone that's young and has so many things to deal with right now. It's connection. Connection with your family, with your friends, with school and community, after all. And this comes as an explanation. When you feel controlled by your parents, if you feel stuck, if you feel scared of something, the fear of losing this connection with the most important people in your life can become unbearable. So, because you have this normal need. And besides this, anyone wants to feel like they belong. Also, at this age, you do want to feel independent, to choose how you're going to spend your time, what school you're going to do, what work you're going to have, what relationships you're going to have. Also, it's normal. And sometimes if you live in the same home with your parents still, normal is that you do have your space, you do have your private time to do whatever you like, and also that you have privacy. And sometimes this doesn't happen when you live with more people. Of course, a normal need, relationships. This is the age when most people want to start a relationship or a partnership or a marriage. An important one, financial independence. We will discuss this a bit more because in my experience, young people in Aruba take a full-time job a bit later age, and that makes them more financially dependent of their family. So of course that affects the dynamic, right, of how independent you feel, even though you need it. Also, we need to learn, right? Any young adult wants to learn about health, about skills, about work, also putting the effort into work, feeling useful and feeling independent. And something essential, but that sometimes I see missing in many young people, is the fun, is the full relaxation, allowing yourself to have new experiences. Maybe this is a great first question. Can you ask yourself right now, are these needs being met in your life, or do you feel that they could use a very good improvement? It's a good start point to see, okay, how independent and satisfied with your life you feel right now. Okay, let's see. Are you experiencing parental control? And I used here Shana. In my webinars, I tend to use a character because it becomes a bit easier to explain. And Shana can be a girl or a boy, man or woman. It can be the same. I chose Shana, but it can also be a Shane. So if you're not, it doesn't depend on your gender, you can still experience parental control. All right. Shana, she's a student either in university, either in high school, it doesn't matter. Most of the time, she's still in some form of school. And also, she still lives with her parents. She's not fully independent financially because she needs to study. So that makes her partially or fully dependent on the money she gets from home. Also, when it comes to her mental health, Shana will struggle with depressive symptoms. Maybe not right now, but maybe she knows that at least at one time in life she had a depressive period. Also, she feels extremely high pressure to perform in school or to help at home or to support family. And support comes either financially by working a lot, either by helping her siblings, either with doing chores or work or helping with anything else, even mentally helping her parents. Also, Shana will always be very responsible. She feels that if her parents are having a conflict, she needs to be in alert to make sure her mom or dad are safe or okay. She feels worried if her parents want to divorce or if her parents have financial problems. She's doing her best to try to solve that. And if she has a sister or a brother, she might not spend the time for herself to study, to go out, to enjoy her life, because she feels the need to take care of the siblings. Or if she wants to move out, she feels responsible what's going to happen with the siblings. And also an essential part, it's school. From my experience, talking to so many students, she has very high school anxiety. Passing exams, not being able to pass the school year, or having bad grades becomes a huge problem that preoccupies her a lot. And most interestingly is that the study she's doing now, even if it's university or something else, most of the time she hasn't chosen it. Someone else from her family very strongly encouraged her to do that one. or very strongly encourages her to keep going faster, 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 so she can finish it as soon as possible, even though she's struggling. And after all of this, when it comes to having fun or managing her own time, she's overwhelmed. So then it becomes very hard to manage her own emotions and reactions, or to manage her schedule at school, or to actually go out and enjoy a good fun, because she always has something on her mind. All right, so far, we know Shana. My second question, if you can ask yourself, have you been seeing this? Are you being, are you relating to Shana so far? Because it's time now to see, how is this happening? Why is this Shana feeling like this? What's the dynamic? Let's see how parental control looks like. Maybe you can identify if this is happening in your family. What happened? Criticism. You do things and you're doing your best, but maybe you hear, that's not good enough, you should do better, you should do faster, why is taking so long, you're not on the right path, that's wrong. Or demanding, you should do that, you have to finish school, you have to help with this, you have to. So something that you don't necessarily want, but you feel pressured to. Emotional manipulation. If you would love me, you would do that. If you would be a good child would never say that, would never do something like that, would never make me feel like that. Guilt tripping. You make me sad. For doing that, you make me mad. You're destroying my well-being, you're destroying this family. This would be terrible if you would do something like that. So then the person feels very guilty. Very strict rules at home. Maybe you're already 18, 19, or 20 years old, or having already a job, but your parents are still telling you when to come home, who to go out with, how to spend your free time. Another interesting one that might seem so very well intended is this advising. Has it happened ever to feel that you have, like, behind your back, someone that's always saying, you should do it like that, you should call that, you should say that, you should do that, like a lot of advising, and or your parents still cleaning your room, always cooking for you, always doing your chores, or helping you with basic tasks? That's also a form of control. Imposing own decisions. Maybe you want to quit this school and maybe you want to do another one, but it's imposed that you first need to finish this. And an excessive need of help. This is when it's another form of control. This is when parents need too much for you to be the adult. Like if your mother had a fight with her husband, with your father, she comes crying on your shoulder, or she asks for money, or she asks for too much support, and then you feel too responsible for that. That's also a form of control. And what I want to strongly mention here is we are not accusing parents in this workshop. We're not trying to find the guilty people, to put etiquettes of bad or good parents. These are just behaviors. And most of the times, parents will do this because they want to feel that you're safe, that you're going to have a future, that you don't leave home too early, or they have you close. Or most of the times they had on their own such a hard upbringing that they don't know better. So that's important to know, so to have some understanding if you see this, that it's no one guilty here, but it's good to become aware. And even though it might seem normal, it doesn't mean it has to stay like that. It's not necessarily normal. And we don't need to continue this generation after generation. And shortly, I want to present to you, can you identify if you ever stand up for yourself, or say, I don't want to do that, I want to change my school, or any choice you want to have, even from the smallest, This, if you say no to them, this is a reaction. They diminish your power. Yeah, but you anyway you're gonna fail, but you don't know anyway. What do you know? Then they refuse to help you financially. They might say, if you're not doing this or not doing as I tell you, we're cutting off your allowance. And that's scary. Silent treatment. You might live in the same home, but your parents might not talk to you for days. A lot of crying out loud. That happens many times, not just one time, many times, when they make you feel so powerless, that you hurt them. Shaming, you're bad, you're stupid, you're incompetent, you're a failure. How could you dress like that? Don't you see yourself? Also, conflict, screaming, hitting, it can happen. And some of the worst one, the threat. If you don't do this, if you don't finish school, we're gonna kick you out of the house. So choose. And the retaining of love, some words like, you're not my child if you're gonna do that. All right, let's go for the next part. This is a question for yourself. Do you think, if you've seen this in your family, are you ever using any of these behaviors yourself? And this might affect your relationships right now, because role modeling happens. Most of the time, your parents had this role model in their childhood, and now they're repeating it. And are you seeing yourself becoming demanding in your friendships, or giving the silent treatment to a boyfriend, or being very critical when you don't like something? It's a good moment to become aware of these behaviors and see them, that they became, you follow them, you've learned them, but it doesn't mean they're necessarily healthy or constructive. All right. What do you think are the main fears that keep children or teenagers or young adults so under the control? What happens over there? How do the parents get the power? And here I want to present you a few main of them shortly. The fear of disappointing. This is the most often that I hear. The fact that you could take a bad grade, the fact that you could fail exams, the fact that you could actually fail an entire school year, the fact that you want to quit this school and do another one. If your parents don't agree with that, or they have these high expectations about how you should be, how in your eyes things should be, how fast they should be, it becomes unbearable. And let me explain this. Any child wants to make their parents happy and proud, right? So the moment you have your own timing or pace for things, if that timing or pace, it's not in accordance with the timing and expectation of your parents, you feel extremely scared of disappointing them. But it doesn't mean that if your parents see you in some way or want you to do something, it doesn't mean you necessarily have to always do it, or that's your right timing. Fear of rejection comes following the first one. No one wants to feel rejected, and feeling rejected by your own family can make you extremely scared by being alone, by not belonging. So that's why, even though you might want to stand up for yourself sometimes, or maybe you could accept the fact that school is not going great right now and you're tired and you need a break, the fact that your parents might reject you for that, it's putting a lot of pressure. All right. Fear of criticism. Here is this concept. If growing up many times you wanted to do something, or to stand up for yourself, or to change or take decisions, if every time you did something that you were happy with, if your parents criticized you, of course that gave you a very, very hard feeling, unpleasant feeling. So everything you do, you try to make it in accordance with your parents' needs and wants in order to avoid those mean words or the criticism. One that's very strong is the fear of losing financial support. I'm coming back to the first slide because if you're working, you are not able to have maybe right now a full-time job. So your salary is low, or maybe you're not working at all because you are studying. So even if you want to say no to something or yes to something, if your parents don't agree and cut off your allowance or your financial support, that's extremely scary. That's survival instinct. So then you choose to stay and you choose to feel dependent or trapped or powerless, because otherwise you think, how am I going to have the money if they actually cut my money? The best part to tell you as an adult is that most of the time, adults won't let you starve. Your parents won't cut all your financial support and won't be able to see you being in huge difficulty, even though they threaten to. Last two, fears. Fear of conflict or losing your family. This is in the cases when it happens that they tell you, if you don't do that, you're not our child anymore, get out of the house, or they get very angry. They scream, they yell. So everything you do, you're just trying to make sure you're doing the right things and not upsetting the parents or your mother, or your father, or grandfather or grandmother. And of course, a form of aggression is definitely not healthy. And it's normal that then the person tries to avoid this at any cost. And fear of family being in danger. That's something I've seen in some students when, for example, if mother or father are having problems, the student is not able to focus on it anymore on their life, on school, or on enjoying life or building up their own future with their own decisions, because they're constantly trying to interfere. Oh, my parents are in a fight, I need to be there. Oh, maybe my brother or my sister are not safe, or maybe they need food, I need to take care of them. So each time you put your own time into taking care of the family, even though you're the child, not the parent. Let's follow the next slide. So what are the consequences? You've seen these behaviors in your family maybe. Then now you identify that you are scared for these things not to happen. But what happens to you? What are your consequences for your own life? How is Shana, our character, gonna feel? And these are the main consequences. Open question, while I read them, please tell me, are you experiencing any of this? Shana is not feeling independence. She's not feeling physically, mentally, or emotionally independent. Shana often feels powerless or helpless for any reasons. So sometimes it becomes even hard to even try because she already has this powerless feeling. And maybe that's connected with depression. Shana is ignoring her needs, from resting, having fun, getting enough time for herself, or whatever she wants to do, from choosing her own study topic to choosing her own relationships or schedule. She kind of ignores those. Shana might feel a lot of anxiety and many times depressive symptoms. And this one, I want to say, using alcohol or substances or food. Since I am in Aruba, I have seen more often people struggling with weight gain. And because what I'm learning generation by generation, if parental control is happening and a child doesn't feel free and independent, and a child doesn't satisfy their needs to feel relaxed and happy, the body and the mind still need to relax somehow. So then they're gonna take it. They're gonna take it either by using any substance, either by eating, because then eating makes you happy. Even if it's for a short time, it gives you pleasure. It satisfies a need, even though your need is a different one. And also important life decisions, Shana, even though she might need a year off or she might need to take it easy for a while, she's not doing it. So these are some real consequences. Again, you are not alone, and this doesn't need to be an identity. This doesn't need to stay with you for the rest of your life. You don't need to feel powerless. You don't need to feel that you don't have independence. This can be step by step fixed, as long as you become aware of the situation. And you can, instead of identifying that that's reality, you can find solution to change it and get your freedom back. How to cope with parental pressure when school is going bad? How to cope with the parental pressure when, for example, you have a lot of exams, you're not doing good, you're behind with your thesis, you're behind with exams, you're behind with projects, or you're behind with school years. I have two main tips. And as basic and simple as they look, I know they can seem hard, but I just want to insist they do work, and it's good to have them into consideration. Accept that you are struggling with school. Instead of thinking, I'm bad, I'm not doing enough, I should be done by now, every single day I'm just thinking of this, I should have been better and faster and more productive. So instead of guilt tripping yourself more and more and more, just accept that you're a human being, that you are struggling with a lot of tasks and a lot of pressure and a lot of emotions. And right now, maybe you don't have everything under control. And I know your parents want you to perform, and I know you don't want to disappoint them, but that doesn't mean it can be done so easily. Sometimes we just need the extra time. Sometimes we just need to accept that, okay, I'm just not making it right now. I need extra time or extra help. So what can you do? Could you ask for an open conversation with your parents or with one of them if you feel that one of them is putting them more pressure? Most of the time, children fear having the conversation and they need to deal with this on their own, thinking that disappointment or the conflict would be too high. But you would be surprised that with kind explanations, parents do actually really love their children and do actually want their children to be healthy. So if you're not feeling healthy right now, the most important thing to do is focus on your health and ask for help. Ask them for an open conversation. Express how much you care and respect their care. So create this bridge between you and them. Instead of hiding or becoming revolted with them, just try to express, I respect all the effort you put, and I know you want me to succeed and you want to be proud. Also, I want to make you proud. So express your care and express your intention to make your family proud and also to have a success. So it's also in your own intention to make it well. But honestly, express honestly, right now, I feel overwhelmed. I feel depressed. I feel scared. I have so much anxiety that I can't even start studying. Be very, very honest with what you feel, because you're not accusing the parent of anything. You're just explaining how you feel. And by the end, ask for help. Can you please help me to manage this? Can you please manage your expectation and give me some extra time to handle this? Can you help me with extra support and less criticism in the next 3 months so I can finish the school year? All students tell me, yeah, try that with my parents. I know it's hard, but I must tell you something different. I think in 90%, when this was the advice for my student, in a few weeks, if they actually started doing it, the majority of them told me, you know what, surprisingly, my mother actually listened to. Maybe she didn't change so much, but she actually helped me and she actually listened and she actually offered to help. This is not a promise that your parents will do so, but from at least my personal experience so far, when parents understand their child is suffering, they don't want to see their child suffering. So please ask for help and express how you feel. And you might be surprised. Maybe you can actually get the help. And maybe actually your life becomes easier. So that's my main advice for this topic. And going to the last part of the workshop, we are tips and tricks on how to regain control over your life. Something I really like to think is parents at some point will get over it, even though they don't like it. If you keep doing what you need to do, because that's the healthiest thing to do, and they see you're healthy doing that, at some point they will get over it and accept it. These tips are not meant to be easy to do like right now, but they are here to empower you and make you aware. And maybe if they are done step by step, they can actually become a game changer. Let's see them. Accept and repeat to yourself that you are not powerless. If someone is exerting control over you, the most common result is that you're going to feel powerless. But in reality, you are not. You are a young adult with a lot of strengths and a lot of resilience. That is definitely not powerless. Going through many years of control have definitely made you strong, not powerless. And I have one exercise for you. Can you remember a moment, how small it is, when you actually asked for help and your parents offered it? Maybe with advice, maybe with money, maybe you changed your mind or you said no, and they offered their help. Can you remember if you ever expressed something that you really, really wanted, and in the end they respected it, even though maybe they didn't agree with it? And when I can't see the last question right here, let me change the very important one. When you feared they're going to kick you out of the home, when you fear they're going to cut off your allowance, when you fear they're going to fully reject you and never love you again. Did it happen? Did it ever happen? Or did it happen permanently without solution? Because this can be a good proof if you're actually really powerless or not. Second, accept and repeat to yourself that you are not a victim. If I feel controlled, naturally I will feel powerless, and that puts me in the position of a victim. But you are not. Or even if you feel like this right now, you do not need to stay in the position of a victim. Don't forget, you're so young You have so many years ahead of you. You have so many opportunities to learn new things, to grow, to get your job, to get your financial independence, to explore your own life. And you don't need to stay in the position of the victim. There is always a solution for something. There is always in the right time a solution. So my tip to you is repeat daily. I have the right to have my own needs, desires, and wishes. You do have that right. You have a short life on this earth, and it's your parents had their own life. You have the right on your own. How does that sound? I'm curious if this is something that's opening any eyes. An important one. Accept and repeat to yourself that you are not responsible for your parents' problems. This is when I heard so many times students that felt depressed and anxious and never had time to finish their school task or their any task they had because they would always fear the health of their mother, the schedule of the father, the conflict that happened in the family, the possibility that the parents are divorcing, maybe the possibility that the parents are not having enough money to pay for mortgage or for car. So financial worries, or worries for your brother or sister, how are they going to manage? How are they going to feel? If this is something that you've been dealing with and you feel over responsible, practice this exercise. Like I have a child, yeah, and the child has a family. The child is here, and this is the adult. Let's say the mother. The mother, maybe she's 40, 50 years old. Because she's an adult, she chose to get married. She chose to get a divorce. She chose to have children. She chose her own job, her house, and her destiny. If something is not going great here, and if the adult it's not having things under control right now in anything that they do, when did the child become responsible to solve the problems of the adult? How logical, how reasonable, and how possible is this? Because it's not fair. That's why a child needs to give parents the respect they deserve as adults, the respect they deserve to be adults and to be responsible for the consequences of their choices, while the child is responsible for the consequences of their choices. Sounds more equal. I do hope this will help, because this is one of the most common things that I've seen in students that feel sad or depressed or anxious, too much responsibility, when you already have your own. Okay, now stay with me. We're at the last two slides. It's time to practice. I'm going to be some form of I'm going to do some form of role play just to hear how could it possibly sound to open an assertive communication, the communication when I say things in a healthy manner and I ask for things in a healthy manner. Even though, as you can see here, it seems very scary and very hard. Can you think of something, because we have short time, one need that you have right now, or one boundary? Like you would need your parents to stop pressuring you with school, or to not give you too many chores in the home, or to give you more time to finish school, or to anything you think it's important, or to help you more with advice, or to criticize you less. Formulate that in a sentence. I need my parents to do something or to stop doing something. Then ask your parents or your mom or your dad for a conversation politely. Can we have a 5 minute talk? When you see them, they're relaxed, they're not stressed out or too tired, in a good moment. And you can start. I know so well you care for me. I know so well you love me. I know so well you want the best for me, or you want me to do well, or you want me to progress, or you want me to have success. I know everything you do is thinking of me to protect me and to have the best for me. I also care so much for you. I also respect you, and I also respect all the things you do for me. And I appreciate your efforts. So this way, your mom or dad will not feel threatened, will not feel that you're being somehow against them, or that you're trying to put a barrier to them, right? So you're creating a bridge of communication and expressing love that will relax them. You have no bad intentions. Then come and express clearly how you feel. Sometimes I feel scared. Sometimes I feel unsafe. Sometimes I feel overwhelmed. I feel worried. I feel pressure. I feel sad when you do this, when you criticize me, when you keep repeating me that I need to do exams, when you keep repeating me to study, when you keep repeating me to not change my school, when you keep doing that or not doing that. So this way you're only expressing honestly what you feel instead of accusing your parents. I want to make you proud. You can continue. I want to become a strong adult, and I want to be prepared for being my best version. Could you help me be like that by giving me more space, by giving me more time, by giving me more privacy, by letting me try things on my own, by letting me fail if it's the moment to fail and learn from that, or learn on my own steps so I can become a good, strong adult? How does that sound? Because this is meant to be open and kind communication that most of the time will trigger compassion or more understanding, even in a stressed parent. If you express love, you create a bridge, you express how you feel, and then you express clearly what you want and why, because you want to just become better. It's very hard to find a reason that someone would say no to that, right? I'm curious, when you practice that, how will that be? Another step, insist. That's the most important part. If you have one conversation with your parents, it might work great, it might not. But in order to change any behavior, you need to repeat that. You need to repeat the conversation. If they do something again that you don't like, ask again kindly for the conversation and repeat it. I know this might be frustrating, but it is a game changer. This will actually turn around the style of communication, and this will actually give you your deserved freedom and more relaxation. If you do it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times, if it works, you gained freedom. So I strongly encourage you to insist on kind conversations with your parents. And any small win, it's a success. And the last one is like that. You can accept and repeat to yourself that if your parents totally refuse to change, totally refuse to help you, listen to you, and keep on criticizing you or being mean or controlling you, you can start thinking more and more and more about creating the plan how to become independent. Maybe you can find a part-time job. Maybe you can get 2-3 extra hours of work and save some money and find maybe a studio to rent, or maybe share an apartment with a colleague or a friend and then share the price, but have your private space. If you're good at something, try to cook something at home, make bracelets, do something that people can pay for so you can get the extra income. So you might not do it tomorrow, but if you tell yourself you're not powerless, you're not a victim, and there's a solution, and that moving out is possible, in a year from now on, you might be on a way that empowers you more and makes you feel more relaxed when it comes to moving towards your future and creating your own destiny. So the conclusion of today is practicing these tips will, if you actually do them, even though it sounds hard, you can then follow them in other areas of your life. Because maybe later in life, if you have a teacher or a boss or a partner that's being controlling, you can see it and not tolerate it. So you can keep being assertive and having boundaries. And also, you could change a cycle that's been going on. If your grandparents were controlling, your parents grew up like that, now you're growing up like this. If you're the one to change how things are done in this family, you are able to afterwards be the first one to change the destiny, to change generations. So that can be a very beautiful thing to do. And never forget that if you have controlling parents, you are much more stronger than you think, because you became very resilient. If you took all the control and all the criticism or the demanding or the guilting, you do actually have a lot of power and strength. You just need to use it to give what makes you happy and what you need, because you are entitled to that. By being born, you are entitled to have your own life. So this was my presentation about controlling parents, and I would be very happy to hear if there are any questions.